According to my analog watch, it's 4 o'clock.
You're the boss.
Is that good? Okay.
That's good.
Welcome to the Capital Outlay Committee. Today is the 3rd of October, and we're going to be listening to requests from fire, police, conservation,
And Harbor.
and harbor. Some of the rules, so we can sit down, is we're going to start at 4 o'clock. We'll go to, the time period is 20 minutes. Fire will go for 15 minutes if you need 15 minutes, and 5 minutes at the end to ask questions so we don't interrupt. Take it away.
Thank you for having us in, and appreciate being in early. One of the major changes that we are presenting to you on this plan is a recognition of expenses going forward, how it's going to affect the taxpayers. We put a lot of thought into this, but we've reduced our capital request by $1 million last year, or coming into this year. And what we've decided to do is we eliminated the request for replacing a 2001 pumper, and we just did away with that. And we accelerated the request to replace the ladder truck. And we combined them into one truck that in the industry we call a quint. It's essentially a ladder truck with a pump on it. So a $2 million request over 3 or 4 years is now a $1 million request coming into this town meeting. And that also has long-term benefits in that it's less fuel. Instead of maintaining 2 new vehicles, you maintain 1, from everything from tires to oil changes to whatever. It will affect our operation, but we're professionals and we'll adapt. So that's a major change in affecting us this year. Other requests that the deputy chief will get into more detail. We've tried to identify if we need something, what can we take off or what can we move out to compensate for those requests. I just want to assure you that the fire department is listening to these committees. Mr. Chairman, we're listening, and we're doing everything we can do to streamline what we do, but not affect service. So with that, Deputy Chief LeBlanc, who did 99% of this, 99.9% of all this work under, just a simple direction from me. We have to do things leaner and cleaner and smoother, and he's done a fabulous job. So I'll turn it over to the deputy.
Thank you, Chief. If everybody has the backup material, the document that has the plan on it with the explanations on the bottom is, you don't have that?
We have it.
Okay.
It's all electronically.
Okay,
done.
I'll just go off the plan if I can just grab that then. I'll just follow the order of the big sheet then.
Is that your phone?
No. So the first thing that we identified this year is, as you know, a moving target has been the upgrade of the public safety radios. We did the townwide radio system. We finished that up last year. The public safety radios, which is to the tune of about $1 million, is a moving target because the state, quite frankly, can't get off the dime and figure out what they're going to do yet. So going into this year, we made some changes in what would be the FY21 year, so I was comfortable moving that, the first $200,000 that was in the plan for this year, out another year, taking it out so that we lowered this year's overall capital requests for fire. With that, we also removed, we had $60,000 on there to upgrade the headquarters lockers. We decided to go in a different direction, so we were able to remove that from the plan. Again, to reduce that, and I'll explain why we had to do those as we go forward. The ambulance replacement program. Last year, and this kind of came in at the 11th hour, when we originally decided to do the change in the vehicle replacement and eliminate the pumper and add the quint, we also pushed the ambulance out a year. So the plan that was approved at last year's town meeting didn't have an ambulance in FY21, it was in FY22. As we started going forward and we looked at it as we came into this year, talking to Kyle and the vehicle maintenance and the fleet as we have it, we decided we really need to keep the plan the way it was. not add that extra year in between, but move the ambulance back into this year. So that was part of the reasoning behind pushing the radios out and taking the lockers off, so that bump wasn't so big in this first year. The next item down, this has been on for a couple of years. We're at a point where, by NFPA standard, our self-contained breathing apparatus are no longer compliant, or will become no longer compliant. We have about 3 years left. So right now, in the plan is a $20,000 match to a $400,000 grant from the feds. We're gonna hopefully be able to write for that this year. We have to wait for them to update the standard before we're eligible. The plan is that will happen next spring, excuse me, and we will hopefully be able to do that successfully on a grant. We've been successful the last 2 years on grants, so we're hoping that luck rides. If not, if you look at FY '22, we've started the first year of 2 years of replacing them within the budget at $400,000, $200,000 a year. Also in FY '22, just going down, we added a staff car. Those have normally been capital under 50. The last one we did, which came in just about $50,000, we anticipate the next one in 2 years will be over 50, so we put it on the plan at a $60,000 placeholder. And then the last is what the chief spoke about in the beginning, is the removal of the engine last year, the moving of the ladder from 2024 to this year, and combining them into one vehicle. The ladder truck, we actually tried to accelerate it if there was going to be a special and do it at the special. We spent about $15,000, between $12,000 and $15,000 in maintenance on the ladder this year. It's tired. It's just getting to a point where it's going to cost us a lot of money to maintain it. So that was why we wanted to move it up off the 2024 into this year. And we saw by eliminating the engine last year, we took a dent out of capital. Overall, saved $1 million to the plan, and still we're able to maintain what we feel is an effective level of fleet for the fire department. And that's pretty much it. Questions?
Yeah,
Happy to answer them.
sure. I'll start. So the Quint is $1.1 million, and it actually replaces, how much was the ladder truck when it was out in the future?
1.4.
So it was 1 and remember what year it was?
2024, FY '24.
Okay, so that's out. And is it replaced, so it's replacing the ladder truck,
Yep.
so you just saved $300,000. And what else is it,
A pumper
and when was the pumper?
this year.
Well, no, pumper was actually,
Well,
yeah, it
last
would have been
year,
in
but
this year
would-
we're in now, yeah.
Would have been in, yes, that was 600,000.
And the pumper is out,
Yep.
and that was, so for $2 million, we're actually saving $1 million, basically. Okay. And the air pack replacement, the 20,000 is, if you get the grant, total cost is 400,
Yep.
and the grant would provide 380, which means we would have to come up with 20.
Correct.
If you don't get the 380 comes off, and the 20 comes off, and we're assuming we could pay for it in 22 and 23.
Correct.
Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay. And you accelerated the ambulance replacement program.
We
Actually,
just reverted back to the original plan of every 2 years. We were hoping to push that off, but
Last year's plan, where was that? Was it in this year?
yes, it
Was it
would
in
be for this
21?
year. Yes.
So it was there.
Yeah.
And the acceleration or the, your 13,000? So the estimate is 378.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions, guys? Yes?
The Quint is gonna be a brand-new truck.
Yes,
Delivery on that will be,
12 to 18 months.
are you gonna be able to operational, by losing the ladder truck? Is that gonna affect operations?
We don't lose the ladder truck, it's just one truck that has to do 2 jobs. So the main function of that truck is a ladder truck. What it does is it compensates for the loss of that pumper. You can operate it as a pumper, not ideally, but it does operate ideally as a ladder truck. It's a ladder, like the ladder we have now, but it carries some water, it's got a pump on it.
So the,
Operationally, it does change things, yes.
Just to, you may want to elaborate a little bit on the height of the ladder on a Quint versus a ladder
So
truck
the-
and that.
So just to explain, so the Quint comes from, it's capable of doing 5 functions. So it has ground ladders, it has an aerial ladder, it has a pump, it has hose, it carries water. Those are the 5 functions. Our current ladder carries ground ladders and a ladder, has no pump, has no hose. So if it gets to a fire first, it can't put out any fire. The new truck that we're buying maintains all the capability of the ladder truck, just adds the capability of an engine to it. So the really only thing we're losing is instead of having 4 engines or 4 pumpers, we're only gonna have 3. Because the 4th one is gonna be combined with the ladder truck.
The proposal is for a 100-foot aerial. We talked about a smaller truck with what you call like a tower. It's got a bucket in it, but they're more expensive. So we presently have 110 feet of aerial, and we'll go from 110 feet to 100 feet. So we still maintain a good reach.
that's really what, so you're only losing, you're not really losing any area.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
The questions I have might be better brought up at our meeting.
Okay.
It's just I'm trying to match up the changes from one year in the plan.
We'll take care of that.
Okay.
I only say that because we need the other one in front of us.
And I apologize for the changes that we've made over the last year, but with the sewer system coming to be, and, you know, I thought it was appropriate to go ahead and kind of be a
There's
pain in
no-
the neck and
We
but change it,
there's-
but we're trying to do it and save you some money.
There's
Us some
there's
money.
no apologies. I mean, you're working the department as you should, and you're looking at on behalf of the taxpayer. That's fine. If a number did not become, if one of these numbers that last year did not become an article and passed, then I'm worried about it. But what you did is you have forecasted, and it's a dynamic plan. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, that's the whole idea. What happens to the existing ladder truck?
It's traded,
Oh, you're getting rid of it.
yes.
Okay. No, I'm
And the
just-
pumper,
and
and
the
that
pumper.
pumper goes.
Okay,
So, so the 1.1 million that's on the plan does not reflect any trade. We got an estimate this fall, if we were able to trade the ladder and replace it this year, of about $70,000, but that market is fickle. So I deliberately submitted the request without a trade on it. There will be something that comes off what we end up borrowing, I just don't know what it is.
well, let me ask you, I mean, there's a point in time where, you know, is it worth trading something in if the value is so low? If you're looking at the budget that we have,
The truck is a 1992.
Doesn't make it- all
We
I'm
can't
saying-
get parts for it,
I
that's the
understand,
problem.
but would it be, it's almost salvage, I mean, that's what you're saying. Does either one stand to be a backup in the parking lot in case of an emergency? I'm just throwing it, because if something's worth $5,000 or $10,000, and we're looking at a budget of whatever, 7 million, 10 million, whatever the number is, 35,000 isn't,
We
I mean-
didn't really consider that, trying to do due diligence, was to say, we're spending $1 million on a piece of equipment, and not to say we're going to get rid of something is, I think, is not gonna be, I don't think, from a manager's point of view, no, if we're gonna do this, I think we should trade those 2 vehicles.
That's fine.
And be done with them.
okay.
I think too, just to maybe elaborate a little bit, Chief, when he has the ladder up, he needs to get, the ladder has to be certified. The platform that
Every year.
holds it and
Every year.
suspends the
Okay.
ladder.
And how about the
And
pumper?
that certification would be at risk and most likely
Yeah.
almost
Absolutely.
impossible
Okay.
to.
Okay.
Yes,
And
it will.
and that's actually one of the reasons last year was about a $5,000 repair, because the ladder didn't pass that testing
Okay.
that has to be done.
Chief, you know I'm gonna ask, what are you gonna do with East Harwich? With the fire station?
Move all the stuff we can over into it and put 3 people in it. There's no change, operationally,
No,
there's
no,
no
no,
changes.
no, the old one.
Building.
I'm going to recommend, hopefully the selectmen will make a decision quickly. The recommendation is going to be to keep it.
Keep it, keep the building, not tear it down,
Correct.
okay?
Yeah, there's been some interest in the building, so we're gonna have the selectmen vet through what they want to do with it. So we did get the material, and it hopefully be on a selectmen's agenda pretty quickly.
And just of interest, if he produces some income, does that go to his budget, or does that go in the town funds?
Town funds.
Okay.
I don't need to manage another building, Joe.
I understand, I see.
Okay.
And lastly, I say, I don't care how much you spend for ambulances, because my family had to use them a couple of times this year, so you buy whatever kind of ambulances you want.
Ditto. I have a math question. I think that people are going to be concerned with the dollars that we're spending on anything this year, so I think we have to be careful. If I'm reading this right, the state will come up with 380, if they come up with 380. So the number there shouldn't be 1.8, it should be like 1.5. And so what I'm suggesting is you take it down to 1.5, put a bracket around the 380 or whatever.
Well, I think the bracket says federal state grant funded portion.
Yeah, I know, but somebody at town meeting reading this and looking at this will see a million eight.
Let's put it in parens.
I don't care how we do it, but I think we need to keep this number down, and there's no way that can be spent, because if we don't get it, you know.
Well, that's why I brought it up first.
We actually
Maybe-
did Jaws of Life, well,
Same way last year. yeah.
simplified Jaws of Life, and what we had to do in the appropriation, Angelo, and I don't remember the exact number, but if it was like 100,000, then we had 20, or 5,000 was the
Yep.
match, and then 95,000. We have to account for everything for budgeting purposes. We do identify, and it will be identified in the recommendation as a grant, so we will color code it as a grant and not taxpayer money.
Yeah, get the money.
We'll definitely do that.
Yeah, that's
I just
all right.
didn't do any of the funding, I just
that's fine.
literally
Well, let's
just wanted to get the material in.
take those two black numbers and put them in red or something like
I will.
that. One's dependent on the other.
Yep,
That's it.
yep.
Anything else? Gentlemen? Go fight some fires.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work you did on that.
Made our job a lot easier.
Brian.
Is there going to be a grand opening?
Yes, we'll do, it'll be a Saturday morning, either the very end of November or the very first part of December.
Well, let us know.
Absolutely, will. Yep.
Thank you for your time. No, I'll just leave it there because we have copies.
Yeah, if you want to.
Police are next.
You guys
I'll
can-
send out.
Let's get this public safety.
Whip right through it.
This is a tough town, man.
This one's easy.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good. Good afternoon. All right, there we are.
You want to turn to police down the bottom,
Yep.
not for us, page whatever, page 2?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
Should they introduce themselves for the record? so-
Why don't you introduce yourselves?
So
Absolutely.
It's on the record.
He's an attorney, so we're,
Well, actually, that's a good point.
So
'cause
you're
as
covered.
we have people take minutes, you know.
Yes.
It's good to have, we know who's in the room.
Dave Gilmet, Chief of Police.
Kevin Considine, Deputy Chief of Police.
Good afternoon. Just to give you a quick lead in on this. Again, just like the fire department, the deputy chief here has done the heavy lifting on this. However, for us, there are no new requests that were put on this at all. We understand that, when we did take a very close look, at our building and our needs in the future. And what's on this reflects a needs-based outlook, basically. So I can just run down for you what's on here, and if there's any questions, obviously, we'll be happy to answer them. But for FY '21, there's only the $14,910, which is the third payment of the 3-year payment plan for our TASER replacement. And those have been getting deployed, and we're getting pretty good feedback about those. And then that will be off. We'll have 2 off years on that, but let me go one fiscal year at a time here. So then FY '22 is the digital fingerprint machine, and as you can see in parentheses there, it's normal replacement. This was put on here by Deputy Chief Gagnon, correct?
Correct.
Kevin? So that's a machine that's in our booking area in the basement, and it's got a couple different computer networks that's hooked into it, and it's always running. So it's apparently on a 5-year recommended replacement. Obviously, on any of this gear, we're going to take a good hard look at it and double check to make sure that it does in fact needs to be replaced. But on something like that, we're required to fingerprint individuals that get arrested, and we also have that hooked into our firearms licensing system, which also is we have a smaller one upstairs, but it's connected to that one. So that's what that figure is the replacement for that machine. FY23 is the bulletproof vest on the 5-year rotation, and that total of $40,000 is what it would cost to replace the entire department. In the past, because that's split out like that, Deputy Chief Gagnon had put it on there like that because we were having some issues. There are grants in place. There's a federal and there's a state. So if we were to, I think we can definitely get 50% out of the feds. The state has been difficult over the past few years. I think they've improved, and we're going to, by the time that comes around, obviously, those numbers may be a little different if we're very confident that, the state is up and running and we'll be able to recoup some of that. But the way that we do vests and the way that the federal grant is structured is that we like to have the money there to purchase the vests when they expire, because we really can't submit for the reimbursement through the feds until we actually have possession of the vests. It's kind of a strange way to do business, but that's the way it is. So that's the vest funds. FY24.
This is the renewal.
That's the TASER replacement program. Again, we're going to look at that and determine if we can stretch the TASERs that we have in the first 5 years here down the road. But that would be another 3 years of that payment plan for replacing the TASERs on a 5-year replacement plan is what that would be. And the $24,000 would be an electric signboard, which we have found to be very useful and versatile throughout the town in all kinds of emergency operations, planned operations, special events, informational things. We only own one, which is quite old. Emergency management funds purchased a second one that we usually use, and the water district, was it, Kevin?
Water department owns one as well.
Water department owns one too, so that was put on FY24, anticipating that probably one of those old ones is eventually going to die on us. But even if it doesn't, and we can keep it running, 4, in my opinion, is better than 3. We use them all over the place. And we're at FY26, and then we also have, so we've got a placeholder of $20,000 for ballistic helmets in FY26. Ballistic material does actually have a shelf life, especially vests that you wear. But we're not sure on whether that's going to be the time frame to replace the helmets. These are helmets that were put in every police unit as part of a rapid response type active shooter kit that we have in each of the cars. So each of the cars has rifle plates for front and back that can be put on quickly, and a helmet. So that's what that number reflects. If we had to replace, if there actually is, we reach a shelf life, an expiration date on that ballistic helmet, that's what that represents. Okay?
That's
And that's it.
Fortunately, or unfortunately, you don't reach any of the limits that we have to vote for, 50,000.
Right.
We'd like to see it, and I think it's interesting to see how fire versus police, and of course, we know that you expense the vehicles, they don't. And with everything happening with the sewers and so forth, and you're going to have teams out there, I'm assuming, direction, and who pays? I mean, I guess that's the finance committee that's really concerned.
We pay for all the details as part of the sewer budget.
Oh, it's in the sewer budget.
Sewer appropriation. Yeah.
Wouldn't the contractor pay them?
I'm sorry?
Wouldn't the contractor pay for them?
It's a pass-through, so instead of having them do the markup, we just pay it direct.
I see.
It's a little cheaper for us to do it.
Do you see any capital expenses involved for the police department, more?
Related to the sewer project?
Yeah.
Well, the signboard's gonna be great, but, I don't know,
mean,
tell me, Kevin.
Really,
how's it-
the signboard is the only thing I anticipate going out for either that or any big project, because sometimes they look at us to provide boards for direction. So that signboard is huge, but otherwise, no.
Okay. Gentlemen, lady?
All set?
No?
You didn't miss, everything is here. There's
It's on
nothing,
tape.
there's nothing hidden.
Thanks.
No, I like the way you did the tasers, anticipating a replacement. You get 2 good years, so we're not going to see that next year or the year after.
Right.
You'll probably get better numbers on the new replacements. The bullet vests are the same type of numerics as the air pack replacement. If you get this, if you get the grant,
Correct.
then there's an expense.
Correct.
So if you can highlight that in the same manner as the air pack replacements for fire,
Okay.
they either get 40% or 50%.
Yep.
And they
Yeah,
come
this
up-
one's a little bit different because I was looking at my notes and I thought maybe I made a typo because it says federal 40 or 50, state, and I put a question mark. So I think they've
That's
been
because
so,
Right. It's
State,
been up and
state
down.
notoriously is usually 350,000 for the entire state, if we're lucky. And it depends on when somebody gets a vest and when they put in for that paperwork. If anything beyond that, we typically have to wait for a supplemental state budget. And it's been, last couple of years, we have not relied on the state the last couple of years.
I think that's why
Well, we
I
haven't,
structured it that
we
way.
haven't really been active with the police in terms of capital outlay.
Right.
But we get to see it, and that's important if we can help you in any way. You know, if it goes over 50. That's the only thing we can vote on, put it that way. That's,
Get it.
needs our approval.
Each cruiser is fitted out with a bulletproof vest and so forth. It's not, they're not issued to the individuals.
No, the individual gets a soft body armor vest, and that's what this is. The vests that are in the cruisers are actually ballistic rifle plates. They'll stop a rifle round. They're usually called rifle plates. So you can put them on over the soft body armor, and it will stop a rifle round.
And the helmets in the car.
And the helmets also.
Thank you.
Team, any questions?
Good.
Just look for new signs, if you see a new sign.
Yeah, you can program right from your desk. You don't even have to go out and program them, so.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who controls the input? In other words,
For this,
like on 137, there are several signs, and at one point, they didn't coordinate with each other.
yeah, some of
We're
those.
starting in August.
I
and on-
addressed that right after
Yeah.
you had mentioned that to me too.
And those are contractor signs, I think.
Oh, that's what I thought, okay.
Good one.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I did look right after.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Wow. It's the harbor master.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Joe.
How's everybody?
Oh, fine, dandy.
Good.
And you?
I'm great. I don't have anything to present to you today.
Angela likes
That's good, thank you.
I'm just kidding.
How's the harbor doing?
Harbor's doing
Introduce
great.
yourself, please.
John Rendon, Harbor Master. I think the harbor's doing really well. We had a good full year with construction completely done. You know, land side was finished up, and so this was really our first full year with everything operating. That was part of both the waterside project and the landside project. And our revenues have been real good. I think there was, you know, parking is always a concern with all that we have going on there, and I think you can count on one hand where we had overflow, you know, parking that people had to wait around looking for a parking spot, but I think everything went extremely well.
Good.
So I was pleased.
It came out terrific.
Thank you. I think so.
Wonderful.
A lot of real good positive comments from the public, from the slip holders, from, you know, local residents. So, yeah.
Your parking's good except for the guy who wants to park his car where he wants to park his car.
That's right.
I saw John in the court with one of his
Oh.
customers. I just have one question.
We didn't
On-
get there, let him present first.
Oh, I thought he was done.
No,
Sorry.
he didn't even start. He's a lawyer.
Okay, so real quick, I have nothing on the plan for FY '21. You probably remember last year I came before you looking for money to do the study, design, and engineering work, looking at the Allen Harbor Jetty. So that's going to be going on this year. GEI Consulting is doing the work to do the site investigation, preliminary plan. They'll present that preliminary plan to the town, and we'll decide on what the final design is, and they'll prepare the final design and construction documents. So my hope is to be able to go out to bid this coming year with what we want to do with Allen Harbor Jetty, and then the construction would be the following year. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what that's going to cost. I mean, I have a figure there, but I just don't know what they're going to come back with. I'm not... You know, until
Is
they
this
get
your number?
until they get into the job, I won't know. And you know, I tried to get a preliminary number from GEI Consulting, but until they actually get out on site and start the process, they're not going to give me a number either. So I just preface that, and I've been hanging on to that number for years now as an estimate. So my hope is it's not going to be that, but I don't know. And then in FY '23, you may have seen from my previous version, I reprioritized a few things. I think Witchmere Outer Harbor Dredge Project, which had been on for several years, I pushed that back. It just was not the priority that I think needs to happen. If you look at Round Cove Landing, that bulkhead is crumbling, and it needs urgent attention. So I reprioritized the Round Cove bulkhead. You also probably remember we do have funds that we're going to be looking at redoing the Round Cove ramp. That's in process. We have the engineering design and permitting is currently going on. And once that's done, we will be replacing the ramp. It takes time because of permitting. You know, it's part of the Pleasant Bay Alliance. It's in a critical habitat zone, so it has extra steps to be able to do any kind of construction there. It has to go through some vetting both with the Alliance and with the state and permitting, so it's taken a little bit of time. But the ramp will be done in the coming year, I hope, and then the bulkhead is next. So, and then after that, in 2024 and 25, I want to tackle the Herring River ramp, which is the small landing on Route 28. Again, probably, I'm sure it's the original ramp. Really nothing's been done to that landing in years, as I know Angela knows because he lives there. But, you know, it needs attention. It just, in my mind, hadn't been the priority when all that we've been doing over the last several years with the other larger harbors. We need to get to the Herring River. And then later down the line, we're going to be tackling a big project, which is the bulkhead at Saquatucket. So, you know, we did the marina project, but the bulkhead was assessed, was looked at as part of that job, and they determined we had 8 to 10 years of life left in it. And so that's the plan, is eventually down the line, the docks were designed so that we can drive a bulkhead in front of the existing bulkhead when it comes time to strengthen up that bulkhead. And we won't have to take everything apart. We'll have to take the two east and west landings that go out to the gangways. We'll have to take those apart, and then we'll drive the sheets in front with minimal disruption. But we didn't include that as part of the marina project for a variety of reasons. One is cost, two is time. I mean, we had to get that whole project done in a winter so we didn't lose a boating season. So we just couldn't do it all at the same time, and when we got the assessment of 8 to 10 years, we decided to prioritize it and put it on for later years. So that's pretty much the capital plan, if there's any questions.
Yeah, I'd like, we can put it in our notes or whatever. I don't know who went on the boat ride or the boat, instead of the bus trip, you went on a boat trip.
Boat trip.
Boat trip.
Boat trip.
Okay. I'm not recommending a boat trip, I'm recommending a bus trip in the spring prior to town meeting to visit the Saquatucket, Herring, all these places that money will be expended upon. I think there's going to be more intense interest in future year spending. And we're looking at 10% pops, then the 90%, 10% pop, then the 90%, 10% pop, then the 90%. So I'd like to, I want to see, I mean, I can go by myself with John, but I suggest that we do a bus trip added to, I mean, these are 3 or 4 spots. Angela, you're acquainted with all of them. Yes?
I would just like to suggest that we, during that trip, we take a look at the Herring River jetty, because that is a disaster.
Okay, I'm just suggesting that we,
You know,
we're not all boaters.
Well, this is, gotta remember, it's not all for boaters. It's gonna be taking out the beaches
Yeah,
and the houses that live, along the beach, so.
I think it's,
I don't even know why, actually, I can understand for Allen Harbor, perhaps, using the harbor master as the person dealing with the jetty, but I think the Herring River jetty is maybe a whole different animal. With your knowledge about it, you should probably do it. But I think you need to take a look.
Okay.
It goes underwater.
okay, yes?
I had a question regarding Round Cove. They're right next to each other. Wouldn't it be easier to do it all in one project? The ramp and the bulkhead?
Well, the ramp was frankly the priority because people are getting hung up on it,
Well, it
ruining
has a
their,
drop off at the end.
ruining their
Is that gonna be
trailers.
eliminated?
That is going to be eliminated. It's going to, the pitch is going to be changed. We're proposing to dredge at the end of that, at the ramp. And part of that bulkhead that is against the ramp will be addressed, but not the entire bulkhead of the landing.
Okay.
Could we have? Probably, but,
I'm just thinking economy of scale, it might save some money, one contract.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've had this ramp on for a long time.
I know.
On the plan, and I think that was my priority, but
Just a thought.
the landing is.
We do the bus visit, we did Red River, we've done the waterworks, we've done everything. I think, just get ready for us to take a bus trip.
I'd be happy to show you. I mean, you're gonna look at the bulkhead at Round Cove, and you're gonna say, why has it taken so long? Because it's falling in the water. So, I mean, and to see it, I think you'll get an
Didn't we
appreciation.
go to Round Cove on one of the bus trips?
No.
We went to something in Pleasant Bay.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. Remember?
You went, well, I don't know, maybe, was it when we were trying to dredge and we were looking at where to place the beach sand? We had a trip with somebody there, I don't know if it was.
I remember going on the bus and stopping, and we had to pull up.
Was it the bridge?
No, it was, I had never seen a ramp, I'm not a boater, but where they were parking the question was, where were they parking their vehicles after they put the boat in the water, and then the slope of the ramp going in, we went, I remember.
There was talk of us buying that piece of land that's zone 28. It's like in the middle of the road there.
Okay,
For
well,
parking. That was a long time ago. That's been
Okay.
off the books for a while.
anything else? Yes?
The $2 million, that's just sort of a,
It is, Mr. McCartney. I don't know what is gonna be required for that jetty. I just don't, and
I wouldn't expect that you would.
I don't think the engineers, I asked, and they wouldn't provide me a number yet.
How
because
good are
they-
the other numbers? Pretty close?
Well, I think they're pretty close. We've done bulkhead work, so I kind of know what,
Well, so we don't scare anybody, how about TBD? Can you live with TBD? Can anybody live
Well,
with?
we started off where I put TBDs and everything,
Oh,
so I
okay.
wanted to be accurate, and you guys wanted some order of magnitude.
Well, I don't want to blow it out, that's.
I know.
I would,
One item.
Pardon?
Try it on that one item.
Okay, I'm just,
No, I'm with you.
I don't want to be so far low or so far high that,
and I don't want to be in a position where I put 500,000 and it comes in at 2 million and people are looking at me like, what the hell are you
I don't
doing?
blame you.
You know,
Okay.
so
You don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just saying we need to support the number should we be asked, okay? We don't have, there's no history. to
And I
get
think
that
that's one reason why it's not this year, it's next, because by the time next year, we'll have a good number.
We'll have a better number.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
It's a good statement tonight.
okay,
One
yes.
one question. Will there be the ability to save some of the money that is generated by the harbors this year, to put them in a fund, to start to pay for that? I know that you generate a ton of money. I don't know if all the construction on the harbor itself has used up all the money, but if it hasn't, can't we just start saving money for that $2 million?
As you'll probably recall, Angelo, on the waterside project, it was $7 million, 1 million grant, $6 million, and we had already committed that on the debt service of the $6 million that we would pay 75% out of increased harbor receipts.
So you're using it all? is what
So
you're
we're using, yeah, I mean, that statement, when that gets paid off, maybe 10 years from now, there probably would be more money in there than what we currently have. But we weren't able to come up with much of anything to offset the landside work, because I thought we had really taxed out what we were doing on the water side.
Okay.
Okey dokey.
Thank
You know
you.
what I will do?
Thanks.
I will put a note in there, planning number only.
Yeah, I
2
think
million.
just an asterisk.
Yeah, I'll
We're gonna-
definitely do that.
Yes,
I may have missed it, John, but I did not see the form for the Saquatucket bulkhead for 2027. There's a lot of forms, so I certainly think missed it.
I have the one that I prepared and I thought submitted, maybe.
No, that's all right, I'll look again in the,
You want me to make copies of it?
that's all right. Maybe it was in the 131 forms that,
It was a lot of pages, it was a lot of material. I'm sure there was a few that there were mistakes on,
all
but
right.
I can send it to you if need be.
I don't need it.
Okay.
I'm sure it's in the 130, and,
if you want to just make a copy for Noreen now.
yeah, just make a copy.
That would be probably the most expeditious way of doing it.
Maureen's desk is like this with papers. One more page.
Thank you, John.
Yes, ma'am.
While she's getting that for you, have you
Does
seen,
anyone else want a copy while she's out there? Just
No, we're good.
have you seen a bigger volume in the use of the Nantucket ferry this year than in previous years?
Absolutely. They increased passenger limits, so now they're, went in front of the Board of Selectmen and asked to be able to carry up to 99 passengers. And so many days throughout the height of the season, they were maxed out.
When do they stop?
Columbus Day weekend
Okay.
coming up. So if you were to ask Jack Sheeran, the owner, I think they had a very good season.
Well,
And they had an increase.
One of the things that happened too is that the cost to park your car up in Hyannis is now like $25, whereas of course they park for nothing down at our place.
Right. I didn't know that, but yeah.
Make it worth your while to drive down to Harwich.
They do a great service there. I
They
mean,
do.
it's-
They run a
it's
great
They
operation.
run a really good show.
Who owned the property
Really good
across the
operation.
street?
Thanks, Carol.
Property across the street is still owned by the,
It's owned by, that was part of the purchase, was that property. So Jack Sheeran, the owner of the ferry, owns that property.
Which is not being used.
He uses it for, the parking lot, he uses for overnight parking. So if somebody's going overnight, they're not allowed to park in our lot, they have to park across the street, and he
Johnny
charges for
Jones is
that.
going to Nantucket overnight, puts his car in their parking lot. And
so they're still using that lot.
They're still using the lot, and they use the home for some summer folks.
Okay.
Okay.
Suppose Mary Jones is with him, is it? Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll schedule with you in the spring prior to town meeting.
Sounds good, Yes, sir.
No, it's fine. I'm just curious if they got it.
Conservation. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Amy Usowski, I'm the Conservation Administrator here for the town, and here to update you on a couple of projects. you have a preferred order? Anything?
If you have the sheet there in
I
front of
do.
you, why don't you just, the first page, Amy, is
Yep.
the-
Well, conservation, but I'm also here to introduce or talk about the Deacon's Folly purchase. That was what was on your agenda as well,
Yep.
the purchase of Deacon's Folly Road. But first, for conservation, so, sorry. I have a couple of projects that have been in the works for a couple of years now. First, as approved at town meeting with use of CPC funds, the Red River Beach jetty extension. So that was approved at town meeting, and is currently, we're working with the state to get approvals for that. The Conservation Commission did vote to approve it. It is a little bit hung up right now at the state level. We have a couple of more years if need be through CPC, hopefully, to continue
I
that.
wasn't sure, Amy, on, through you, Mr. Chairman, if I had that right, because I had shore stabilization jetty extension, and then we had the 100,000 that was already appropriated. I thought, were you looking for a supplemental?
No, I'm sorry, so it's not additional. There's no additional funding being requested.
No additional funding, okay.
Yep, it was just meant to carry over, so if
So I
the
could take
form
that
was not
TBD.
accurate, right.
Okay.
It was just to carry over essentially from last year to this year until we can hopefully actually construct it.
Okay, so there's no request for additional money?
There's no request
So
for
why is it
additional
on?
money.
I think she wanted to provide an update to capital outlay for the status of the project. Because the.
But I don't see it on the plan. I mean, it's
You want me
good
to
if-
take it off the
yeah.
plan? I'll take it off.
Because people are going to say, should there be a dollar value on it?
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that.
I just want to let you know
giving
where it's
us-
at.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this is either.
It'll just add confusion.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to do that.
And
And then the next one, for the Harwich Artificial Reef, it really is a placeholder. The intent is to never have to ask taxpayers through CPC or at town meeting. It's never to have to ask taxpayers to have to fund that. We received grants in the past. We will continue to try to fund a next deployment via grants, but it's just on there because it could be expended funds.
Could it be, I'm sorry, I'm asking questions, so I promised that I wouldn't do that, but could it be grant or CPC or
could be.
taxpayer?
I would say grant or CPC.
Okay, so I think we, again, have to note that the taxpayer isn't looking to come up with $250,000.
Correct. I thought I had grants on here.
It's taxpayer.
But it's
Right.
in a bucket already.
Yeah, but-
True.
But it's,
It's not being funded by us, by this. We're not voting on it.
I would really like to just grants.
I actually was not
grants
intending
on
to
it.
go to CPC for it. I do.
I don't care where you go, the
Yeah.
question is.
Not you.
If you think the grant is going to it's going to be under a grant, we have to note that.
I do
Yep.
think 2 or 3 years ago, when this came up, we had it on the capital budget. We intended, I think it was like 5 or 10% match, there was some match requirement. The state came along, they came into some money or whatever, they said, we want to do this project now, so they did it now, and we didn't have an opportunity to match, so they just paid for the whole thing. So the last time
There
that
might
we went down
be a
this road,
necessity for a
they
match.
did, similar to what we were talking about with the fire, where it was minimal money, but they did want some kind of taxpayer commitment to that. So I don't know, because of the way that happened, I don't know if that was part of their normal course, that they just gave us all the money without any match.
It's not normal. Our match was the
In-kind
kind services. We did all the permitting in-house for that. So it was time essentially for in-kind services.
The idea is to keep it minimal for the taxpayer. I
Yeah.
get that. I just don't want to, I just don't want to disclose that we had a process before where it was matching
It may
funds,
not be
and
the exact same one
If
in
we
the
can do what we
future.
did last time, we'll certainly do it.
And we are starting to chat with the tech school to be able to use some of that material for the next time. So, and then for Deacon's Folly, I
I have it under
apologize.
Affordable Housing Trust. So I
Okay.
have it on here, it's the
Yep.
second one, and yeah, that's great that you want to speak to it. I did have there as Affordable Housing Trust and Concom, so I just.
Okay, I wasn't sure the way it was on the agenda, if it was expected for me
But yeah, why
to.
don't you can.
I'll
do the
introduce
overview of
it, and if you have any questions about the housing aspect, you can ask Chris about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, the owner of 0 Deacons Folly Road, which is a 6.65 acre piece of land in West Harwich, approached the Real Estate and Open Space Committee, which I often go to those meetings. He approached us with, to see if the town would be willing or want to purchase that property. And it abuts existing conservation land, it abuts an active cranberry bog, which is owned by the trust and leased out. And it also has frontage on both Main Street as well as Deacons Folly Road. It has a preliminary subdivision plan for 7 lots. And the thought behind this is to go for CPC funding in the amount of $1.2 million, partly out of housing, the bucket, and partly out of open space, half and half. Currently, I think correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, we have gone out for an appraisal, but we don't have that number back yet.
Correct. It's
So
in the
that-
process.
Yep, so that 1.2 is based on the asking price of the seller. Of course, we have to follow our practices in town and go by the appraised value. So that number is just based on his asking price. He evidently did stand up in front of a selectmen's meeting and ask for more money recently, but we can only do what the appraisal is going to allow us really to do. So the, up near the road, would potentially be for affordable housing purposes. And then down on the southern part of the property, which abuts the cranberry bog and existing conservation land, that would be for conservation purposes, to connect to existing trails and open space lands there. It has been supported by the Board of Selectmen, the Real Estate and Open Space Committee, the Conservation Commission, and the Affordable Housing Trust. So, the funding is proposed to come out of CPC at this time.
Questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
We have a ton of land, the town owns a ton of land. And that was purchased a long time ago, or gotten a long time ago. And if we want to build 5 or 6 or 7 affordable housing properties, we have the land to do it. And with concerns that I heard at this town meeting last year, I don't think the town folks are that interested in spending money when they don't have to. And so, and also, if it did go for the $1 million or whatever it is, then each of the houses is gonna cost a little over $100,000 for the properties. If you take, because that's what you're buying. So I would think that you would have a hard time getting that through town meeting, in any way, shape or form. And I think they'd all support the housing. You know, right down off of Royal Road, there's 6 beautiful lots that are sitting there.
This just became available, so we said, let's vet it, let's vet it.
You know, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that it's a concern, because there are things we have to spend
I
money
understand.
on.
Yep.
And getting the affordable housing is important, but we don't need it for affordable housing. I don't think.
I won't speak to the
Well,
affordable
I
housing
think the
piece.
Affordable Housing Committee did go through, and they did assign this a priority that, you know, to continue to build inventory is not a bad thing. To the question, really, you know, the hope is that if we're able to acquire it, a portion will be Concom and a portion will be affordable housing. But just with 40B, I mean, you could do a more dense development than just a house per acre. So I don't want people to assume that would be a house per acre. But I think your comments, Angelo, certainly the Affordable Housing Trust is very aware of those, and we are certainly actively looking at town-owned property first for consideration. So it is on the list, but I don't remember off the top of my head where we are on the priority list. But it is on the list of one of the priorities. I don't believe it's the #1 priority for us.
think it's just a dangerous thing to bring to town meeting.
And this would be all CPC, so the CPC funding, which I know is all taxpayer money, as was alluded to earlier, but they have to dedicate a certain amount for housing, so this would be for housing purposes, so.
But you could build more housing if you just took land we already owned
Yep.
and built the houses. So I think it's not thinking it all through. My thoughts are.
In that case, I'm only one out of 5 board members, so it's not just my own thoughts.
Thank you. Anything else? Thanks.
Have a
And
good
we
evening.
will keep those numbers there.
Great.
And if you could just make note.
Yep. Yeah, I'll take out the shoreline stabilization.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Okay. Where is Deacon's Folly?
Off of Main Street.
Hey, Shay, you don't even know where, it's up off of Main Street. Just as you get to Queen Anne Road, it's just a little bit before that.
Doesn't matter where.
There's a lot of starter homes in that area. It's not a bad
Okay.
location for consideration.
So we can, Carolyn, do you have anything? Okay.
Could I do just an overview, or you want to do your minutes and
Yeah.
work first?
Yeah, I want to get, yeah,
Okay.
I got a couple.
Go ahead.
You all got the minutes? Do I hear any?
Want a motion?
Please.
Motion to adopt the minutes or accept the minutes?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're good. I got a call from Larry Ballantyne this afternoon. Yes, this afternoon. And Carol is putting together budget training. And it's for the Board of Selectmen, FinCom, and us. So that we're all speaking the same language. And that we're all trying to understand the same things. The intricacies of budget, Noreen, you've got the background in that. I guess we look at it, I mean, you've done it, so. We unfortunately haven't, and I would say the FinCom hasn't, and I can guarantee you the Board of Selectmen haven't. I read the Chronicle, is that the one that comes out today, Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a big article about your presentation and how you approached, yes. So anyway, they came up, or I don't know if these are the dates Carol came up with, or the Board of Selectmen came up with, or somebody came up with, but they're looking at to start this thing around 6 p.m., okay? And it's the three of us all getting together, either on October 15th, 16th, or 29th. The 15th, we have a meeting. If you want to, I mean, it's going to be long to be here from 4 to, 5, normally 5:30, and then jump into a meeting at 6 o'clock. That'll go to 8 o'clock or 8:30, 9 o'clock. That's a long, long time. The 16th, it's okay with me. We don't have a meeting. And the last day would,
I'm not sure who else is involved in it, but on the 15th, on the 16th at 5 p.m., they're having the last meeting of the building committee of Monomoy Regional High School at the library. And I'm not sure who else might be involved in that.
that doesn't affect us.
Well, excuse me, I don't have the list of the building committee in front of me.
I think Ed McManus, one of the selectmen,
Yeah.
is on that committee too. I think that's the point, there's a few people that may be.
I would rather do the 29th rather than the 15th or the 16th, because the 16th is my anniversary.
Oh, Dad, forget it.
I'm being
Why don't you
honest.
bring your wife to the meeting?
The 29th.
And we're gonna have it catered, you get a free meal, whatever.
It'll be his last.
Pates is doing it. I'm, the 15th, like I say, we have a meeting. The 16th, I'm having root canal. And the 29th, I'm taking my dog to the hospital with Buzzards Bay. So whatever it is, they're priorities, so for me, I don't care.
And just to maybe give a little form and function to, Larry Ballantyne asked Carol and I, more so Carol, to put together a presentation on the kind of the impact of the budget. You know, last year, there was a lot of confusion that the budget went up by 7%. Probably 4 out of that 7% was all driven by debt service, new projects that were going in, and only about 3% was driven by the budget approximately in those circumstances. And we're just trying to, he asked us, he goes, I don't know if people really understand the impact of it. So he asked Carol to do kind of a 101 of what happens when certain things happen. So a delay in one area, what does that have for impact? And do people realize that Prop 2.5 has mechanisms to go above Prop 2.5, and debt exclusion is one that has been used very frequently. And what is the ramifications of that? So it's to try to provide more of a budget overview and impacts. That is what we're attempting to do. I know I have a couple pieces of it from myself. One of the things that we hear all the time is that Harwich is unique, we're special, we're different. We're not really. When you compare us to other towns on the Cape, we're actually pretty much in the middle of the pack or appropriate. So we have some components where we're just going to talk about those elements so people get it that, you know, we're not alone in this. But that's the point of it. And I don't even know, I haven't had a chance to chat with Carol today, but, you know, if we're ready to go for the 15th, if you have all the material that is needed. But you guys had like a preview of the debt service charts that she did?
Yeah.
That was gonna be one component to bring to the finance committee and to the selectmen.
Well, let me find out. If we do the 15th, you're gonna be here 8 hours. Or 6 hours. 4 to 9, 4 to 10, I don't know.
15's okay with me.
I don't think it's gonna be a 3-hour presentation. The presentation will probably be an hour,
Yeah, tell me about it, then you got,
and then there'll be questions.
it's not,
and then
the
there'll be
question,
questions, yeah.
it won't be questions, it'll be debate.
Yeah.
It's between, you know, it's gonna be debate, at least 2 hours.
I can't do the 29th.
I can't do the 15th or the 16th.
Young lady,
I'm free.
any day?
Yeah.
Okay. What, I mean, I don't know who picked the dates. You?
So Larry sent me his calendar.
Oh.
We were trying for a Thursday night.
Okay.
And then there was no Thursday night available. So then he sent me his calendar yesterday and he said, look at my calendar and tell me. So I just picked anything that was really open on his calendar. And there were only Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And so that's, you know,
Pete, what do
I
you
think
got?
we can be ready for the 15th. I just am trying
That's
to
really
nail
bad,
down
but
exactly what the
15th,
agenda
I
is.
think, is really bad for us.
Okay.
I mean, either we don't have a meeting and do it to this thing.
Well, who's available on the 29th?
I should be able to get there just about 6 o'clock.
On the
29th is good?
29th? 29th?
Pete?
29th is good.
I may be,
29th is good for me.
I may be just a little late. that's all.
And that
29th.
works for you guys?
Late afternoon,
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
fine.
It's after the courthouse closes.
I know that. I have a guy who's going to jail that day.
As long as he pays you in cash, you're okay. Let,
6 PM.
29th,
29th.
29th.
Thank you.
We could try to book that. I think we're the first to book a date, so we'll say. it
I
works
know
for you
that
guys.
FinCom doesn't even, he didn't socialize it because they haven't, I'm assuming he didn't send an email out. Who's on Fin, did you get anything? No note? Okay, so Brown has not, we're picking first, 29th. And we got the town administrator and you on the 29th. So they have to follow suit, I'm assuming.
That's the night.
Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to cover. I appreciate if we have to maneuver, you show up late, you want to leave early, it's fine, okay? This is not, it's not mandatory, it's suggestive training. And if you miss something, I'm sure you can buy Carol lunch, and she'll explain everything to you. The other thing I just wanted to go is, I don't know what your calendars are, but next Monday is the State of the Union.
7th of October.
This coming Monday.
Yeah, the 7th. It's the State of the Union. And right now, I have me from the town, appointed by the town administrator, Pete, town administrator,
I'm planning to go to the meeting, too.
good. Angelo, Finance Committee, Joe, Planning Board, Bruce, Board of Selectmen, Noreen, Board of Selectmen, and we have a vacancy from Finance. In 2019, Chris Harlow retired from the COC after many years of sharing his time and expertise. Thanks, Chris. We want to thank our town administrator, Chris Clark, and Finance Director, Carol Capola, for their continuous support and dedicated efforts to further the committee's understanding of municipal finance and accounting during these difficult times. Changes in the new plan, departmental implementation, capital expenditure request form that allows for more accurate information for current and future years in the capital budgeting process began in August. The 7-year capital plan shall start with the next fiscal year as its first year and 6 years thereafter, 21 to 27. The result will be a new capital plan covering 21 to 27 that will be delivered to the town administrator by December by town charter, and is currently being worked on with input from various departments and committees and will be ready for submission later this year. The capital plan will consider debt service requirements of the town. Debt for 21 is approximately $7 million. The capital plan will be presented to the Board of Selectmen by us and the town administrator in January. The plan may have changes prior to town meeting. Our current and planned activities meet monthly and will do so even after the capital plan is submitted. Be proactive and stay informed of financial needs of our town departments. Continue our site visits to see and better understand of department requests for dollars. Better understand future costs through departmental and committees' presentations. Work with CPC to better understand requests and funding. Be aware of big dollar hits in an effort to keep the plan curve smooth, lessening the effect of the tax impact. Identify town assets in terms of possible sale or reuse. Develop and champion efforts to better maintain our capital assets in terms of life extension. Better understand and analyze the extremely large amounts of capital required to be spent over the next decade and beyond. Work with requesters and taxpayers to preserve the financial integrity of the town of Harwich. Amen.
Bravo!
So that's what's going to be given.
Could you just add Charlene to the thank yous for helping out doing the minutes?
It's already in their packet, but I will,
Just if you could.
I'll do it.
Where are we on the agenda?
Wow. Somewhere.
Usually they're near the top.
Yeah, usually they're at the beginning. I'm actually not going to be able to be there, so I
Monday,
will not
October
be,
7th.
I will
Yes.
not be available, but
I'm assuming 6:30.
The 7th?
Yeah.
Pardon me? Next Monday.
You want us to come?
this coming Monday.
I mean, if you're not,
I'll be there.
the Big Bang is at 7, so and it goes to 8. If you're watching the Big Bang or watching MSNBC, you're more than welcome.
Monday Night Football.
Well, I'll have you back by then. And I'll be the guy in shirt and tie, so just. You got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know, the format. I did add Affordable Housing Trust. I think I got everything in there. I didn't get any significant feedback. I will submit an updated form because I did get golf and I had an update on cemetery. So I will distribute that the same way I distributed the other material. And then to the point, I have not had a chance yet. I was going to look at last year and this year and then probably color code it like I did. I started to do that and then I'm like, the stuff kind of comes in a little bit messy and I try to organize it to make it look presentable. So I didn't get a chance to go through and do that reconciliation. If you've already done a reconciliation, that would be great.
But, crazy, but I don't have a copy of the final one from May town meeting. And when you try to print from the warrant, it's just, it's really hard to read.
Okay, you want me to send that electronically?
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
How do you print it?
Pardon me?
How do you print it?
Well, I'll just shrink it and print it, but out of the warrant, it's a scan, and it's just, illegible, just doesn't
Okay.
come out.
It's too small.
Well, even, that,
Did
The
I
warrant's
put
okay.
did I put last year's in there when I sent it
The
out?
warrant?
The capital plan from last year?
In
I
the-
thought I did do that in the distribution when I did it.
The first meeting you did.
no,
Okay, I'll send it.
Okay.
I have it.
I've been looking for it for months, so.
I had an idea, while we have time, it's not 5:30 yet. Do you want to vote on what we heard today?
Well, I have one more thing, just because before you vote, I think you want to know this. Yesterday, I got the report from the state on free cash. So I did update, it's not good in this circumstance, well, it depends on where you sit. From my perspective, it's kind of, we were hoping, or I guess I was hoping that we'd come in closer to $2 million. It came in at 1.4 million. So I have it on here, I have it on the sheet, so if you go to page 4, and just to kind of break out historically how we've actually used free cash, I do have in here an allocation of 500,000 for snow and ice. I've done that historically. That money could become available if we have a mild winter. I think we have always historically used above what we appropriate, so we will definitely have some use of that. And then the 125 for cultural center operation, Chamber of Commerce, 30,000, the library's 20, Cultural Council, 36. I did allocate something, we've been putting a little bit aside for operating small capital, 40,000. And then I can eliminate the Pleasant Play grant, that was a one-year match. But prior year bills, I just kind of rounded off what was left. What that means is that there's 700,000 for free cash
Okay.
for choosing, which.
Well, the vote doesn't depend,
I know, but
Yeah.
my recommendations are going to be driven by, I'm not going to recommend more than we have.
right, but
And I
I'm,
don't think the board wants me to go heavy with debt exclusions or capital exclusions to fund it separately.
but I,
Last year, we were at $3.5 million, I think is what free cash was certified at. So, and I knew, or we knew, we went heavy on utilizing some of that to narrow free cash, so our intent was to narrow it, so mission accomplished. But it does mean the work for the capital budget is going to be that much more difficult.
It's half.
Excuse me, Chris.
It's what?
Half of what it was a
It's
year
half
ago.
what it was. I anticipated we would bring it down by at least $1 million in my thinking, so it was $1.5 million.
Will we get any money from the state for the tornado?
It looks good, actually. I've had 2 or 3 different sources say that they will reimburse us. All what that means, though, is I think we're about $1.5 million in tornado-related expenses that we submitted. They will reimburse us the $1.5 million. If they don't reimburse us, if we don't get money from the state, then we were gonna take stabilization from $3 million down to $1.5 million to pay for that.
If we get the money from the state, where will it show up here?
It won't show up on here because it will be, Carol's done a nice job of all the tornado-related expenses has been categorized under administration. So we have one line item or one area. So we've identified everything related to tornado. So the hope is if the state, which I anticipate if things happen, they'll do a supplemental budget in the next month or so. They'll appropriate that money for the town of Harwich in that supplemental budget, and then we'll get the money dispersed to us. And then because it's all within the same fiscal year, is that right?
So, is it all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, we have actual expenditures right now, of about $800,000. So if you do get in 1.5 million, because you've got some tree damage still, and you can still see there's marked trees that'll end up coming down. But right now, that's what we have, and and whether that's going to be borne by the department itself, internal department, those, or whether you're going to have additional costs. I'm not sure yet what that plan is, but let's say they reimburse you $1.5 million and you've expended $800,000. You'll probably take that $700,000 and earmark it at town meeting or something, and earmark it for a specific purpose. Or you could,
Because I think what they're gonna use is the FEMA numbers that we submitted and give us the full amount of that. But
Yeah, just looking for some relief here, that's what.
yeah, no, I'm with you.
I don't think
There
you're
are
going to see
certain,
relief.
there are certain things, like as an example, we put in for administration's time, for FEMA. We wouldn't reimburse we probably wouldn't reimburse our account because the time is the time. If I don't do my work, I just do it after hours, so I mean, I just make it
On
up.
the street in front of it.
So there may be some of that, but to Carol's point, there was a lot of tree damage that we were gonna plant trees and actually potentially buy a tree grinder to do the stumps, a stump grinder, not a tree grinder. But I don't anticipate a giant windfall from that.
Noreen?
But would some be able to go to like the OT for some of the departments, so it wouldn't?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't wanna have
So
the
we
departments run short.
pulled all of those expenses out of their departments anyway already, in anticipation.
I just have a comment and a question. The comment is that the people who spoke today, the committee people, or department people rather, I think really did a good job of trying to watch how expenditures were made, and this was the first time in the years that I think I've been involved where that kind of effort was brought forward.
And they should be
And I think
thanked.
they should be thanked. I think they've done a very good job with a difficult subject. That's the comment. The question is, have the selectmen, I've listened to a couple of the selectmen's meetings and attended them, and at one point, the selectmen will say, gee, we really shouldn't be over 2.5%, and then other times they talk about doing all sorts of things. Has anybody reached a target for where we should be operating next year?
I think they did officially vote, was it, I'm now blanking on the number, if it was 2 or 3%. I think they did vote 2% overall.
So are we going to try and do that?
Well, part of the reason for having the meeting on the 29th is it's easy to say things. There's great campaign slogans, but when it comes to the actual reality of what potential impacts that could have, then I think that's what we want to have a discussion. And, one of my, Monomoy is one of our biggest budgets. And it doesn't really matter what the town says. Once the state does their formula and says thou shalt pay X amount, then we're paying X amount. So to have, like, just as a, for instance, a 2% target, if Monomoy comes in at 4, do we really impact the town side? And I know I get accused of scare tactics and all that. I'm not talking about closing town government, but it could be dramatic on the town side if we have something like that. And I think people just need to understand, if people want services to be diminished, then we can certainly do that, but there are ramifications. And, I mean, my last town I went in, and I had $1.5 million that we were short. So I came in and I cut $1.5 million, and the services diminished, and we survived. So we can do that. But I think the point of the 29th is to try to educate people that, delaying some of these capital projects as the layout of, if it's 7% and 4%, and again, that's just rough, 4% was debt, then if you delay debt, you have more value to the taxpayer immediately than necessarily laying off people. So.
But it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away, no.
No, but, if there's a pressure to be at a certain level, things to look at. I mean, for example, today there was a conversation about, adding to the marine, out there, the marina, what is it called?
The bulkhead there.
Not the bulkhead,
Jen,
what is it, I forgot what it's called.
Al, you mean the
Where the
jetty
fishing-
work?
where the- Yeah, where the fishing,
Oh, the artificial reef.
the artificial reef.
Yeah.
And that is something we can easily not do
Mhm.
if we, and that.
Absolutely.
And that's why we should know where to go, so we can find those kinds of things, so we don't have to.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. If you guys said and the selectmen said the only way you could do artificial reef is if the state pays for everything,
Yeah.
that's easy to understand.
Who does she report to?
Conservation, to me.
Yes.
Do you want to vote on these
Yes.
presentations?
Yeah, sorry.
That's
I
why
just didn't want you to do it without knowing the financial situation. That's
Well, no, the financial situation is a problem that you have to
all.
address.
I have to do.
The 4 presentations we heard today are probably the first time that there's a minimal amount of money being requested.
Exactly.
Okay? It looks like fire is requesting, but far less than it's been in the past. Police isn't asking anything. Harbor master isn't asking. All I'm saying is for 21, okay? The numbers are really, really limited, and it just helps us spend more time, should we need time, on anything else that's coming. We've got the time now, and it's easy to vote.
Okay.
Yes?
My only concern about voting today, I'm happy to go ahead and vote, is partly my concern, because I just got in last night, but since changes in the out years and all the years are gonna be more difficult to make, we haven't really had a conversation about those changes. I don't know if we need to, I haven't had a chance.
We're voting 21.
Oh, okay.
That's all we-
We're only voting on the request in 21. That's why I said it's so minimal,
Okay,
okay? And I can understand the out years,
right.
okay? And we discussed them with it, but the caveat is, out years are dynamic numbers, subject to change, just like when John's saying, I put 2 million next year as a placeholder, that's all it is. So you're 100% right,
Right.
but they try to explain the out years, but we're only voting, and so this is your first time, we're only voting if there is funding, then this project is something that we should consider.
Okay.
That's all we're saying to the yes.
All right, so it's not the plan as a whole?
No, 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 no.
Okay,
Okay. That's why if we do it in segments and we have time,
right.
it makes the last week, we could look at the overview, anything you want to change, we have the information. Fair enough? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think we started with, why don't we start with fire? And I'll read it out. So in 21, there's nothing in the radio system. We actually go down to the air pack replacement. The ambulance replacement, 37822, and that's part of their every year plan. And it's sort of, we have voted in favor of that. I'm just historical. So all those in favor of funding the ambulance?
Well, you need a motion in a second.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the presentation by the fire department,
The whole thing, or just, let's go one by one so that we,
just the ones in 21.
The whole thing, though,
Yeah,
for
the whole
fire.
thing.
okay, and
Then the
understand, so we understand that the 20 and the 80 is 400, and the 380 is, if there is a grant, 380 comes from it, and we're picking up 20.
Yep.
Okay, so we're looking at something around 1,878,225.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's, Pete, you're in?
I'm in.
Okay.
6-0?
6-0. Let's go down to Harbor Master, where the number is 0. So we make a motion, please? Or
Go ahead, Bruce, you're on a
Bruce,
Motion to approve the
0 request.
zero request in FY '21 for the harbor master.
Second.
I second with appreciation that it's 0.
6-0. Police. They have something of 14.9, and we don't have to vote for it, but we'll make note of it. All those in favor of the 14.9 or 0, actually?
Aye.
Second.
So I,
You get a motion?
I made a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve it.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So we got rid of,
and then Concom was the last one,
which really is nothing.
which, yeah, is nothing.
Okay, so let me, so we have it.
Deacon's Folly, you can wait if you want for the, when I
Well,
get on.
let's
for
vote on
40,000.
conservation. Conservation came in with 0 in 21. We don't know if anything else.
Motion to approve in 21 at 0.
Second.
Bruce and Joe.
6-0. And any thoughts on, can we vote on Deacon's Folly?
You can vote on it, but you may want to look at the application. I think I did include the application in the materials. Well, you just got in last night.
Is
so-
affordable housing coming in?
Yeah, I'll do that under administration.
Okay, so we won't vote on it. So we voted on police, we voted on fire, we voted on harbor master and conservation.
Hell of a job.
Okay, so that's taken care of.
And we're here again in a couple of nights.
The 8th.
Yeah.
Is there
Next
any
week
new
is the
business
8th.
that we missed? Any old business? Okay, so if you can make it on the 7th, you're welcome. If you can make it on the 8th, we actually, if you're not going to be here, we need to know because we need a forum,
What date?
or a quorum in the forum.
What date did you?
The 8th, the 10th,
I'll be here.
we're the 8th, the 10th,
And the 10th.
15th.
I'm not here.
I'm not here.
What time on the 8th?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So what happens if we schedule somebody in and we only have 3 people there? We
You
don't-
can't, you shouldn't do the meeting.
You don't have a quorum.
What night are we in?
Well,
Jeopardy of-
I thought we moved it back because people were available.
Well, I'm
I show it on the
but things
15th.
come up in between.
Yeah, then we could do it on the 15th.
Okay, we have,
You do have the 15th as a flex day, but
we have,
Coordinate.
we have next Tuesday, next Thursday, and the following Tuesday. So we have the 8th, the 10th, the 15th. Everybody good with that?
I can go on the 8th and the 15th. I
Okay,
can't
so
make
you're at the 10th.
10th.
You're good for now? You're good for now?
I'm good for the 8th and the 15th, but not the 10th.
So you're both not the 10th, right?
And I'm not available the 10th.
So there's no meeting.
okay, the
Solves
10th is
that problem.
the 10th is the big one though.
Yeah.
Why?
A lot of people.
Big,
DPW, water, wastewater, and administration. I
Wanna
can
ch-
shift that to the 15th.
yes. Shift it to the 15th.
So we'll have no October 10th meeting?
Wait a minute, can you shift it up to the 8th? Can you take all these and make, no?
I'm not available on the 8th.
Oh.
I apologize, but I'm not available on the 8th.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to move it down,
I'll move
or,
it down to the 15th.
yeah?
So everything on the 10th will be the 15th. Everyone can make the 15th though?
Yep.
Why don't we just do
Could I
that?
ask what else was going to be on the 15th? What was-
Carol,
It's just final votes.
Carol,
No, Carol's the 29th.
okay. But it was one of the dates. It was one of the dates.
It was one of the days.
It was one of the dates.
Okay, so the 8th is still on, the 10th is off. The 10th, everyone that was scheduled to come in the 10th will be in on the 15th. Just on the 15th, I think that's Columbus Day is the 14th, so that,
Yes.
so I'll have the selectmen's meeting at 6, so I'm fine working straight through, so that would be, but just so you're aware that there will be a selectmen's meeting right after. And then the new one that we established tonight is the 29th at 6 PM.
Well, let me ask you something, since we're,
And that would be
Where do you guys stand
Budget
on the
workshop.
17th?
October 17th?
No good.
It's a Thursday.
I know.
Thursday.
But then you'd miss the packet for the budget timeline, Chris.
Oh, I'm not worried about that.
Pardon me?
We're not worried about that. What date is that?
The 17th is a Thursday. Oh, yeah, I don't, I gotta look at my budget calendar. I thought, to Noreen's point, though, I had to turn around after the 15th and get it in the packet for the recommendations for the initial discussion by the board. They wanted to see all the capital requests.
Well, then everything, so we're going to be going the 8th.
I mean, I'd love
Because
to
the
see
17th would be
17th, but that
17th is too late, because, yeah, I gotta have it by theoretically noontime
So
Wednesday.
we're meeting the 7th at the Board of Selectmen, the 8th here.
Yeah. The 15th,
15th.
starting at 4. I'll just shift everyone
Yep.
from the 10th to the 15th.
Well, let me ask you
And the
something. Hold
29th
on.
at 6.
What are your calendars in terms of time? Can we start a little earlier?
I'm going to Virginia.
Goodbye.
That's why I'm not available.
The 15th.
Yeah.
You're not going to be,
No,
Oh, I thought you were available the 15th.
I thought we said,
The 8th and
no,
the...
I'll be here for the 15th.
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
so we're all here for the 15th.
Right.
We're supposed to start at 4 o'clock. We have like 6 groups coming in. Is there any way we can move it up to 3 o'clock, even if you're not available?
Fine, fine.
Can we
I
move
can do
it?
3 o'clock.
You want to move it so we have an extra hour?
Okay.
I'll figure out how to spell that.
Okay,
Okay.
So you want 3
3
o'clock
PM on the
on
15th?
the 15th.
yeah, this way, you're actually, you know, if one of these meetings took an hour, we're picking up the hour on the 15th.
Okay.
Okay.
So the 7th, the 8th, the 15th, and the 29th.
7th, 8th,
Yeah, but they're all,
15th,
yeah.
and the 29th.
And remember, they're all not the same.
Understand?
Okay.
They have different start
The
times.
7th is the State of the Union.
Yep,
The 8th is a COC meeting.
yep,
The 15th is a COC meeting
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock.
okay.
And the 29th is
Capital outlay.
learn numbers. No, it's Carol's budget.
It's Carol's.
Oh.
29th is
Job.
budgeting.
Budget overview or
Budget.
budget detail, I don't know. She'll have to think of something to put on the slide to
What
call.
time is that meeting gonna be, 6?
6.
Here,
I would say so. I mean, unless
Yeah,
you
it
want
would
to do it
probably be
somewhere
somewhere in the
else.
building.
Community center.
Okay.
I don't know if planning board or anyone has that room that night, so, or, we'll,
I should know,
We'll
I'm
figure
the
that out.
chairman.
you're kicked out.
I mean, if it's
Yeah.
going to be at the community center or something, we'll let you know, right?
yeah,
Then-
we'll let you know.
All right.
Well,
Okay,
I'll try to
we
get
all-
that booked.
Can you have
The next couple
Charlene
days.
send that out?
Yep.
Or-
Yeah, I'll coordinate with her.
6:30, 4, 3, 6.
I have the last one.
Did she post the 7th already for you, the selectmen's one? As a joint
Posted the
meeting?
8th, you don't know about the 7th.
Yeah.
It doesn't always get posted if we just show up.
If you just show up for, I mean, it's really just the chairman's report, so we don't normally post if it's,
Well, you don't post.
And the 8th.
We're not going to talk. I'm not going to let you
you're not
talk.
gonna deliberate, so.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if after we get beyond the initial votes and everything else on, whatever date, if we can have a discussion about, because of the changes that were voted in May, I'm concerned about analyzing the changes that do happen in the out years.
And we can do that after
Right.
the holidays.
Right,
We do not meet normally.
okay, that's fine.
We come back
Right,
April-ish,
right.
March, April. We sort of get ready for town meeting, just clean up. And that's a perfect time to bring it up because December, when all this stuff has to be prepared into the selectmen, let's say by the first of the year. And then everybody just disappears for the holidays. And then,
As long as it's gonna snow, he doesn't want to.
I got it. That's fine by me.
yeah.
It's just that, I don't really know, if town meeting is aware that we're really only approving FY '21. I know it does, And what I'm saying is, per the changes voted by charter last May, there are significant changes in the out years.
But,
All right,
no, but
I'll highlight
he
all
has
the
to
changes.
interpret, he has to interpret
right.
what the changes are and where there has to be a vote, that 2/3 instead of 50%, right. It's very confusing even when he read the article and what it was approved and how it was approved and what does it mean. So I don't want to confuse what we're submitting, okay? We only vote for the entire plan, okay? But we're really voting for 21. Those become the articles for town meeting.
All right. I'm not sure, again, if the audience understands that, but.
They don't have to.
Yeah, we know.
It's described in the plan, it's described, and that's what the FinCom votes,
Okay.
okay? Yeah, right, I understand where you're coming from,
Yeah,
but
so-
it becomes very confusing if he's, it's confusing to us.
Right.
And, by the way, the Charter Committee is no longer the Charter Committee.
No, this first
There's
year
one
is
out of
gonna be-
five,
Right,
one out of
they-
five
they all
remain.
Saw the paper today.
So, I'm not picking, all I'm
So the
saying,
radio, too.
it's something that was voted, not discussed with this committee, so I think we have to understand it, and I think we'd be wasting a lot of time looking at the out years, when the town administrator, this is really his plan, to say, okay, this is how that change, anticipated change, is going to affect this number or whatever. So,
No, that's fine, there's a lot going on this year. because of the
yeah, we
whole-
don't meet, we
Yeah.
don't meet in December, we don't meet in January. We can do Skype from Florida, but,
No, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
don't we ordinarily also convene on the first night of town meeting? Don't we usually?
No,
schedule-
FinCom does.
I thought we did too.
Planning board used to.
Unless we have changes, we do like the week before.
Okay.
If Chris sees
Yeah.
there's a change or a request, that's why I put
Maybe
in
I'll
my
take it over
notes,
to planning board.
yeah.
Like a meeting in April or something.
Yeah, we do
for
something
any-
to clean it up, make sure, and that's why my note for the State of the Union is that we make changes up to town meeting.
Should you tell the board?
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's what you tell the board.
That's what I'm going to say Monday night. That's one of my bullet items,
Okay.
is the plan is able to change
Shoot it.
under town meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Yeah,
Thank you. Carol, thanks.
we got a,
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
Can you turn that off, or does that?
I'll turn